Now we move to Community Housing Aotearoa. Vic Crockford, the Chief Executive Officer, and Chris Glaudel, the Deputy Chief Executive. Tēnā koutou, welcome to the Environment Committee. Apologies for keeping you waiting, and you have 10 minutes to present your submission. Thank you. Kia ora.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou, ko Vic Crockford tōku ingoa, and I'm the newly appointed Chief Executive at Community Housing Aotearoa, 3 weeks in. So I will be directing a number of your questions to Chris, who is also joining us. Look, we'd just like to start by noting that we support the reform of the Resource Management Act to deliver better environmental and development outcomes, as we plainly stated in our submission. As an organisation, we work off the basis that everyone has the right to a decent home. So working backwards from that leads us to a number of potential policy tools. Our sector and a number of local government partners have looked closely at inclusionary zoning specifically over a number of years. And we do think that it does provide significant opportunity to ensure a supply of more affordable, healthy homes in local communities, if it's supported at the central government level. So we know full well that it will not be a one-size-fits-all approach, and I think our predecessors in Tauranga and Christchurch have made that clear. But given the reforms already underway, we think now is a really good time to come up with a national strategy or statement that supports local government to look at wellbeing outcomes in their communities, with inclusionary zoning as a really specific tool in the kit that would enable the councils to put the concept of wellbeing into practice. We really believe that this will help our community housing providers deliver on the number of houses built, which is an aim that we all share, I am sure, and as well as create local job opportunities and help shape our housing system to deliver better outcomes for all. For more detail on what this means in practice, they're good statements, but they have to be implemented. I'd like to pass over to Chris.
Thank you, Vic. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Chris Glaudel, tōku ingoa. And as Vic said, we've chosen in our written submissions and our oral one today to just focus on one issue. Hopefully you found the submission blissfully brief, although we did have a couple of attachments to read there on some work that we've been doing. And we're really urging you to pick up inclusionary zoning as a tool to be enabled through the reforms. We've been working with local government New Zealand and several territorial authorities to provide input to the Ministry for the Environment on why this is important and on certain technical considerations. And we're focused on this tool because we're concerned about the mismatch between current housing supply in terms of both affordability and typology. And we've done housing needs assessment work in a number of the Tier 1 authorities, including with Smart Growth and with Christchurch City. And just looking at the price levels of new homes that are being delivered and also the sizes, and they're not matching demographics. And we see that we need to change that, and inclusionary zoning could be one useful tool alongside all the other government's broader actions in investing in infrastructure and the RM reforms. And we hear from community housing providers that access to and the cost of land is one of the biggest barriers to their efforts to provide more affordable homes. And inclusionary zoning is a tool. It's been used internationally for decades, and it ensures that a portion of new growth, new development is affordable and meets identified community needs. And we've got the experience locally in Queenstown Lakes District Council and the program that they've been operating since about 2003 alongside their local housing trust. And that program on its own has delivered over $24 million of land contributions. And it just provides that ongoing pipeline of building opportunities to ensure that there are new homes being delivered that meet the needs of that community. We also have example of legislation. The Affordable Housing Enabling Territorial Authorities Act from 2008 provides a good model of how we can pull together through these reforms a nationally consistent methodology to document need, along with mechanisms to ensure retention of those homes. And that's a really important thing, that these homes that are developed are retained and serve the community over time. And we also have within the Urban Development Act, it provides, already an ongoing requirement to assess need and delivery. And as we just heard from Commissioner Tolley, that is in place, that is working, and we're keeping track of how we're doing. And so we think that enabling inclusionary zoning would provide a tool for those local authorities to really meet those needs that are unmet currently and that are documented through their ongoing assessments. We also think that it's a good complement to the significant public investments that government's making in infrastructure and housing. And we think that it's reasonable to ensure that more of the resulting development is responsible to changing demographics and is affordable. And those are the kind of the high level reasons that we urge you to consider IZ as a tool to enable through these reforms. And with that, open to any questions you may have.
Thank you both. The links to those two discussion papers around inclusionary zoning weren't live in the document. So I wonder if you could just send them by email to the Secretariat afterwards, because I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Definitely apologies for that.
No worries. Sometimes it's just the formatting. Nicola Willis.
Yeah, and we were able to Google the titles of the papers and they came up anyway. So, and thank you for attaching them. They were useful. In terms of how you would like inclusionary zoning to be empowered for the future, do you see it as being specifically mentioned in the national planning framework? Is that the mechanism by which regions would be able to do inclusionary zoning? Because what I read from what you've written previously is that there needs to be certainty that this instrument is able to be used in order for regions to then make a decision about what form it takes and whether it's appropriate. So would the national planning framework be the vehicle for that?
We do see that. What we hear repeatedly from those that are, in the legal professions and have looked at these issues is that we do need a national act. So for instance, the government policy statement on housing and urban development mentions retention and value capture, but it doesn't have that force of law. And so we really do feel that it needs to be in at a high level. We would see some of the details coming through potentially in regulation that would enable a more flexible response over time as we gain more experience. But we do think that it has to be into an act.
Thank you. Rachel Brooking.
Yeah, just following on from Nicola's question, the wording then in the Affordable Housing Enabling Territorial Authorities Act 2008, is that that's basically what you'd like to see implemented in this new regime?
We see that as a jumping off point, and we know it was in place for a couple of years and then was repealed. So we don't have the experience of seeing how it would have played out. But the Queenstown Lakes example does show us what can come of these types of programs, as well as many communities around the world. So the exact details will continue to provide input to Ministry for the Environment as to how that would come into this. But we do see broadly the types of things that are in the Affordable Housing Enabling Territorial Authorities Act hit the mark in terms of giving some certainty around the methodology, around retention, and other things at a very high level.
And I thank you both for your submission, and it's an important point, and thank you for making it so clearly. Tēnā koutou mō koutou I taia tinana mai ki whakatā koutou I o koutou whakaro. Thank you.
Kia koutou.
Mā te wā.